What is the cycle of life? We last mentioned our God-given healing potential. If we play by the rules, but reality is, few know what disease is, what the rules are, and how to play by them. Rational medicine is this: come let us reason together. In the work of healing, we must work intelligently by following rational methods. So why aren't we doing it? We find that by blocking signs and symptoms of a problem, that is considered finding a cure. In our hearts, we know that we are made of the food we eat, but looking at healing, we ignore this. As a specialist administers a drug, which is not a food, which is not in whole, but is in part, adding to poisons, because of the side effects, in an already poisoned system. What are we doing? This is not a common sense approach for the many lifestyle diseases, and the body heals itself despite often what we're putting into it. When we put things in part, not in whole, we end up in problems. It tells us something about God. He knows what's for our good. Does the drug heal? What about the chemo and the radiation? What if we use that on its own? What will it do to, it's got to have a side effect, it's got to have a problem. What about clean sources of air, food and water? Does that make sense? Yet, when it comes to cancer, that's frowned upon. How could that heal? We must always remember that the drug companies have studied the herbs, and they've studied them in parts per million and know the properties. They're just dishonest in not giving it to the public. The body has signals, and those signals are to direct healing to a certain area. The body is clever in that. We shall discuss how healing shall be directed later. In the last video we established that microbes work for us or against us according to our nutritional state, and I would add according to our mental state or our hormonal state. The place in which blood quality is determined would have to be in the intestine. The immune system is working hard to maintain the system's health, and this is happening in that area. A change in defence there can lead to disease, and the body is going to let us know about it. And so glad that that's what it does. We can learn from the plant world something of the rationale to medicine. When we see fungus on the leaf, we know there's a problem. We might spray the leaf, but there's a problem on the soil. If we help the cover to the soil, the ground cover on the soil, we're helping to enrich the soil, to enrich the inhabitants in that soil, and so we can deal with that fungal problem. You know, when it comes to the body, one of the first signs might be fungus on the nail, on the big toe often. So what do? We get something from the pharmacy. We say this is not working because we haven't attended to that which is inside. It only makes sense. The body shows little signs, and if we can't read them properly, we'll continue down in the course, in the path towards disease. There was a documentary on RT concerning fish, and this is the summary of it. Everybody agrees that fish is healthy. In 40 years its global consumption has doubled. Every year the market needs to find more fishes and new ways of production. Where does the fish of our daily sushi come from? How is it fed? In which waters does it live? A dramatic investigation about healthy food, or maybe not. And the summary really is that fish is the most toxic food on the planet. How could this be so? Well, David Suzuki, in his early days, documentaries, perhaps in the 80s, and he takes us to the pristine waters in Canada, and there we see fish jumping upstream and the bears catching those fish for food. And when the water is examined, it's found to have these pesticides and toxins in it. The fish have been contaminated. And then he takes us to the ice cap, to the furthest part you can go on the planet, And what do we find in the ice core that's taken from the ice cap? We find DDT, pesticides, heavy metals are all present there. So this is in the environment. So what is in people's system? This is going in the food chain. As we mentioned, he examined the fish. It's in the fish. It would be in the animal kingdom, in the animal world, and there's much more likely chance of an animal to human problem occurring, disease being transferred easily from one to the other. We know that the animals have all the diseases that we have, and we consume the animal and animal products. In many places, fish are so contaminated by the filth in which they feed as to be a cause of disease. Wonder when this was written. It seems very up to date, doesn't it? This is especially the case where the fish come in contact with the sewers of the large cities. The fish that are fed on the contents of the drains may pass into distant waters and may be caught where the water is pure and fresh. Thus, when used as food, they bring disease and death on those who do not suspect the danger. Written in 1905, more than 100 years ago, Ministry of Healing. What do I say? Rational medicine is what we need to follow. We find because of the contamination of the large cities, and with it we have the drugs, the hormones that are taken out into the water. It's hard to get rid of hormones, even if we try to clean it up, and this has contaminated the water systems, and the fish are contaminated. And we know that the larger the fish, the more likelihood of mercury poisoning, and mercury poisoning can cause nerve damage, it can cause blood vessel problems. Researchers at Washington State University created the first microbe-powered self-sustained wastewater treatment system that could simultaneously clean up waste from large farming operations and rural sewage treatment plants quickly and cheaply while reducing pollution. So we find that using microbes to clean up the environment can do that which we could not do. And we can also use plants to purify water and things like this. You can look on the website and search for these things. And for ourselves also, microbes can help the body. Now, 100 years ago, Kellogg, when looking back on it, many people have said he's a quack. What was his emphasis? On the gut area. And he would suggest that microbes need to be replenished through the mouth and enema to clean the bowel. And we call this fellow a quack. We should be practicing these sort of things today. How many people have been put on antibiotic or fungal base and not told to replenish the system? And so the system deteriorates. What happens when you put a fungus into a building? What happens to the building? It is, in the end, it'll have to be pulled down. We are air as much as we are water, but we think about water more than we do about air. We could, though, consider breathing exercises, hygienic practices, and we could consider the aromatic properties of certain plants to heal. Here's another statement from the book Ministry of Healing, 1905, more than 100 years ago. There are life-giving properties in the balsam of the pine, in the fragrance of the cedar, and in the fir, and other trees also have properties that are life-restoring. This is wonderful. We can use this to build up the system. We could use this when we have the flu, for example, but we can have these sort of life-giving, fragrant trees around a building to restore health. Now, if we have leaf litter and decay around the building, we're going to do the very opposite. it could be life-threatening. We need to clean the rooms we're living in every day, refresh them. That film that builds up on the window is a fungus, and fungus floats through the air. We need to have fresh, clean air, and we can use the fragrance of certain plants to give us health. There are more inhabitants in a handful of soil than what there are people on the planet. We blow the seeds into the ground these days. This is how agricultural methods are going, and use Monsanto's Roundup. We are using Monsanto Roundup ready crops, and there's gene alteration, and we say we're serious about carbon emissions, but so what? We might never see the future. Man is made of the soil, and to survive we have to have living soil. Now, Israel of old was told about this, and a warning was given also for their prosperity. This is in Leviticus 26 verse 27. Have a look at this. Get your Bibles out, have a look. And if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, what? Hearken unto my teachings, unto my statutes, and to my commandments, but walk contrary unto me, then will I walk contrary unto you also in fury, and I will chastise you 7 times for your sins. Notice what it says there, 7 times. And I will destroy your high places, and cut down your images, and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols, and my soul shall abhor you. And I will make your cities waste, and will bring your sanctuaries unto desolation, and I will not smell the savour of your sweet odours. That is the incense, or the sacrifice that is given to the Lord for the remission of sins. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. Notice what it says in 26 verse 33. And I will scatter you amongst the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. This did come to fulfillment, because this happened when they were taken by the Babylonians captive, and they were taken captive for 70 years. 7 times represented the 70 years. And this is how time periods are represented in Daniel and Revelation. Then shall your land enjoy her Sabbaths, as long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemy's land, even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbaths. So it came to fulfillment. 2 Chronicles 36:21, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land hath enjoyed her Sabbaths, until this shall happen, for as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath, to fulfill the 70 years. The 7 times that was predicted was fulfilled, the 70 years. There is a research paper also, but I've not put it up on the screen, which talks about heavy metal contamination in rice-producing soils of a province in China and potential health risks. So what did they find? Here is a summary of that. Long-term exposure to heavy metals through brown rice contamination poses both potential non-carcinogenic and carcinogenic health risks to the local residents. And what did they find? Of those heavy metals, the highest found in the rice crop was cadmium and mercury. So that was in China, but what is China sending to us? And what are those other countries, third world conditions, sending to us? When you travel into China, what do you find? Heavy industrial areas next to these agricultural areas, and their methods of growing and hygiene are not up to standard as they should be. But this is what they're doing for a level playing field in the part of the globalist agenda. that which we want to consume locally, they're not letting you consume it. And so people are ploughing their orange trees and other things back into the ground. It's a crime against humanity. We need to bring that clean environment from the outside into us, and that's obvious. So why aren't we practicing that which gives us success and will enable us to live?